Hi there traders, welcome to Elite Currency. My name is Chris, and this video of course again on the euro dollar, pound dollar analysis, what has happened throughout this week after the FOMC yesterday. We're going to take a look at the charts right now. Alright, this is the euro dollar daily chart, and last 2 days have been bearish candles, as you can see, actually in a momentum to the downside, because 3 out of 4 last candles are bearish, so pretty strong momentum there. Now all in all, if we look at the context though, we see that there was a triple top more or less, but there was also a sturdy bottom here that basically gave support to price for the previous bounce up. So I do think there's a good chance that price is making a sideways correction, and that when price reaches this particular support zone, that could be another bouncing spot for upside. So that's something to keep in mind, because although the bearish momentum is strong, price might bounce in the support zone, just like as the momentum was strong here. Still, price made a turnaround at resistance. So we got to be aware of those support and resistance zones. And I think there's still a good chance that this is a three-wave correction, 4 of wave 4, this being wave 1, 2, and this being wave 3, like this. So with that said, we can put a fib still on the wave 3, like that, and we would expect price indeed to retest 122.30, 122, maybe 122.50 zone, and that could be a bounce spot. If price breaks below 122, all right, then there's a good chance that it will continue lower and challenge maybe the long-term moving average. There could be a good space down to the 50 fib, down to the 61.8 fib, and perhaps lower. Let's zoom into the 4-hour chart for the moment. Let me get rid of this daily chart fib because it doesn't have any value anymore. And basically you can see that price is in this momentum indeed, just keeps dropping, doesn't make any pullbacks. Difficult when it does not make any pullbacks like this to catch the trade, but we did with ecs.LIVE. So if you want to have an overview of the currency market, the forex market, with more pairs than just euro dollar, pound dollar, and you would like to see our trade setups, feel free to join ecs.LIVE, of course. So anyhow, with that said, let's take a look at the targets of this downside. We have a new tool called Wiz, or I should say Wiz is already an old tool, but we have it modernized and basically a new version of this Wiz tool. And there you go. Price broke below the 4th level. 5th level is probably the target at around 122. I wouldn't say exactly 121.77. It could stop earlier at about 122 due to the previous bottom. But it shows you that here, as price broke through the 3rd level down to the 4th, as it broke the 4th, it's headed closer and going its way towards the 5th. But it doesn't have to get there entirely. I do think that this bottom is a strong level to deal with and to reckon with. So hourly chart, I think that this is looking like a 5th wave. So if anyone is in the short, I would probably use this fractal right here, or this fractal to use as a trail stop loss, because basically if price does start to break above these resistance levels, all right, like these trend lines, there is a good chance that price might make a new uptrend again, all right? Because this could be a correction that is over, and once it breaks to the upside, there could be a decent uptrend that starts. Don't get me wrong, if price makes, maybe these levels are a little bit early, but certainly if it breaks above the trend line here and the long-term moving average, these levels, there's a good chance of a bullish breakout. If it breaks here, there could be still a drop, a decline towards the bigger bottom before we get the upswing. So I'm still bullish, just waiting for price either to break above the bigger resistance zone at around 123.50 or to move down to around 122 and show bullish candlestick patterns on the 4-hour chart for a bullish bounce. That's what I'm looking for. And yes, there could be a small continuation to the downside, but that depends on how price responds in this particular zone, and whether there is any potential trade for a small kind of push down to 122, 122.50. I'm not a big fan of that trade because price is already so close to support that I think that it might be just better to wait for the bullish bounce or the breakout. Or, of course, if there's more momentum and it does break below 121.75 and 122, well, yes, then in that case, a downtrend is probably going to start. All right, so that's something to keep an eye on. Pound dollar, uptrend is out of the question. I used the Wiz tool already here from this particular top, and price is breaking below the 4th level. So there's a good chance of a continuation to the downside. Also, that level is important because if you look at this particular top, that could have been the wave 1, 2, 3, and this could have been a wave 4. That's not possible anymore because the wave 4 has gone into the price territory of wave 1, which invalidates that, which means that this is probably an ABC rather than a 1, 2, 3. So that means that this is probably a bigger correction, a WXY correction, or the start of a downtrend. And that depends a little bit on how fast and how much price moves to the downside. You can see a respect for the 61.8 fib. So from this perspective, I think there's some good space for price to fall. You know, if we take a look at probably the daily chart, right, where would be the wave 1? This could be the wave 1 right here. So that would be really the invalidation spot probably of the upside trend, and the downtrend is probably starting, or a bigger correction. But anything till there, it is probably or still could be a correction, right? As I said, the WXY. So doesn't matter. In both cases, though, bearishness is expected. I think there could be a move down to the 5th level. If it breaks below the 5th level, there could be a move down to the -272 target. So let's take a look at that 1 hour chart now. There we go. And all right, could be at a bouncing spot. Look at this support trend line right here, as you can see. And we can draw a trend line like that, probably. So in a bit of a channel, right? And could retrace at this moment to the top of the channel like this. And if it does that, I think there's still a good chance that it find resistance for a move down to that 5th level and the previous bottom at around 137.50. Of course, if price were to break above it and break above 140 probably, then it is back in the uptrend, and you know, that could be the end of the correction. So 140 very important for a bullish breakout. 139.50 very important for a bearish return down to about 137.50 for the moment. And if price were to break here, that's possible too. I would probably zoom into a 50-minute chart and wait for a break pullback continuation on a lower time frame. All right, but I do think that for the moment, a small bounce here within this channel is most likely. Then it depends on how price responds at this resistance zone. Do we get a bounce or a breakout? All right, more free analysis and of course our ecs.start package for free with a lot of material and indicators you can find at elitecurrency.com. As always, I wish you very good trading and trade safe above all, and see you soon. Cheers.